I've learned a very special principle, which is just be honest and transparent and just work the problem for your client. Put their best interests at heart, put your people's best interests at heart, put your self-interest last. It plays through, solve problems. We've actually, we've reduced spend in so many of our clients now. They've got visibility. With some of them, we've reduced our fees. They don't need as much of us anymore. They're in good shape. That holds so much respect. It doesn't make a quota, but hey, we don't have quotas. So yeah, so essentially we've built this kind of system which took the pressure out of that and removed the quotas. So if you don't want that situation, you want longitudinally, you have to design your sales org for that. Frankly, I still struggle with the fact that it's called sales. I don't like it. Why can't you work the problem? Why can't you be in true partnership? But these are important. So Chris, just summarizing here, looking forward, what do we need to do as a community of CISOs now to take all that constraint thinking, sweat down our sauce and make it a little bit sweeter? How do we manage this ecosystem by getting the best out of our vendors who do supply to us? How do we find those lovely gems of people who actually do care about us? And yes, they've got their quota, but they will always put you first.
I think that's a tough one to crack. I think we've got some time. I think it's taken a long time to get here, and I don't think it's a quick solution. I think there are some big names from the 90s, which were the powerhouses in technology, and I won't name names. But I think they built the problem we see today and the bad behavior. And what happened is they were the behemoth in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And then they unleashed an ecosystem of sales leadership now that has grown up from that and do that same bad behavior. And, off the record, I can tell you a handful of companies I know that do this all the time. And I talk to their salespeople, and anybody watching this will know exactly the companies I'm talking about, because here's sign number one. Your salesperson has changed either mid-year or as soon as they sold you the product for this year. That is a key indicator that you are working with a company that is grinding their salespeople to a pulp. And, that's something you need to be aware of. A friend of mine a while back said, if they'll give it to you for 30 off at the end of the quarter, they can give it to you for 30 off whenever. And so it's all just a shell game. And, I think helping to stop that behavior. I was at a lunch today with a deputy at one of the local casinos here, one of the larger ones, and he's furious with a sales guy who just will not leave him alone because it's close out the year. What can we do to make the sale? How do I get you? What's the budget? And I don't think the problem, one of them, is that salespeople have never been practitioners for the most part. And most practitioners have never been salespeople. And so it's almost like, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and we don't speak the same language. Salespeople are on quarterly quotas, timing matters. On the practitioner side, I've got budget constraints. I've got physical people constraints. I have procurement constraints. I have logistics constraints. I have constraints around the MSA. I have constraints around the contractual obligations we have. And I have constraints that if I go buy yet another whiz-bang tool and don't implement it, someone's going to have me hanging out to dry, because why did you go buy that if it's sitting around? And so I think the salespeople need to understand that the practitioners are doing all they can for the most part. There are some not great practitioners. Again, off the record, I can tell you a big long list of them. But I think for the most part, the practitioners are trying to do the best they can, and they've got politics inside of their company. I think the salespeople, for the most part, are trying to do the best they can. They honestly want to fix a problem, because I think some of them deep down know that if you alienate customers long enough, you're not going to be a viable salesperson anymore. Because you got to kind of have to have a book of business to go to the new place and go sell. Otherwise, you're just going to show up and not have anything to sell. So, I think if everybody can just understand what it looks like on the other side of the table, I think we can all work a little better together. I don't think this is we're going to spell it out today and it's fixed tomorrow. I think it's just slowly pushing back on your salespeople. I think from the sales side, I think it's just slowly recognizing what are the real constraints. And I think honesty is huge.
So I think, Chris, sort of concluding, this is such an interesting observation. Constraints now we're applying and should apply that to sales and the sales process as well. Not just the way we buy stuff, not the way we run our cybersecurity practices within our organizations, but actually in the whole world of sales itself. So what an interesting article. This will definitely sit in context of my wider thinking in security. So thank you very much indeed, Chris.
Oh, thank you. This has been a great pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you.